Well, I used to keep my money in a cookie jar. It was shaped like a cat, it was a present from my brother. I read a lot of books, but I couldn't see between the lines. I'll have another cup of coffee if you don't mind.
Boom. We're live.
We made it. I don't know how it. I don't know how it. I mean, it's just this has been all of the days where we had technical difficulties. This one has passed in every way. My niece borrowed my van to go see her mom for her 80th birthday over in Mandeville. So I was carless and needed to take my wife to work so that I could go meet my niece later, get my van back. My wife's car operates with one of those key fobs. So I drop her off at the hospital, and she goes skipping off into the hospital, and I go driving away, and all of a sudden, bing, 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 you don't have the key fob, so you can't turn the car off. My phone has crashed, so I can't call her. My phone has got a blank screen. I can still hear people texting and calling me. I got a blank screen. I just paid $150 2 weeks ago to replace the screen. So I'm going to go buy a new phone. But I can't turn the car off to go buy a new phone because I don't have the key fob. So I drive straight home. I dig out the spare key fob, and I email her, because that's the only thing I have now, and say, hey, you took the key fob, but I don't want you to worry. I have the spare. She emails back, the spare's dead. So I got to look up on the YouTube how to change a key fob for a Lexus. Otherwise, you got to take it to Lexus, and they have to do it for like $40 or whatever it is. So, of course, everything's on YouTube, and I find out how to change a key fob, and we have the spare battery, and I pop it in, and I get to the store, the AT&T store, to buy the new phone, because it was 9 o'clock it was going to open, which normally we would be on the air, but you had a doctor's appointment, so we're going to push till 10. I meant to get there for right when they opened, but forgot a mask, had to come back, grab a mask, get there, and there's 3 customers in front of me. One young man who was rather quick, and then this woman walks up. It was unbelievable. I don't know how people work in stores like this. Just don't pick up a phone book and hit him in the head. She walks up and she goes, yeah, I want to get some pricing on phones and service from AT&T. And the one's like, yeah. Go. You got to answer your wife, man.
Yes. Hey, sweetie, we doing our little show. But can you grab my coffee? I left it in the other room. Thank you. Is there something you needed?
I got coffee either. I'm kind of upset about it, but
she's gonna she'll wait till we're off the air to talk. So
okay. So she steps up and she goes, I want to talk about pricing on phones and for my house service. And woman goes, okay, what do you want to know? And she goes, well, I got a phone call, I think it was from this store, that said I could get 30% off if I change my service to blah, blah, blah. And the woman says, do you know who you spoke to? No, I don't know who I spoke to. I also got an email. Well, what did the email say? Well, the email said something about me getting something if I came into the store. So I just want to see what it is. And I'm just standing there thinking, you don't know what you want. You don't know why you want it. You just know somebody's offering you something for 30% off, and you're here to discuss. And so she continued to ask questions that were like, you could have found out on the internet. I mean, anyway, you're waiting. And I'm trying to get back to the show, and this woman's just asking. And at the end, she goes, well, that's not at all what I thought it said when they said I was going to get something. So I don't think I'm going to get anything. I'm going to go. And I was just like, oh, my God. Oh, my God. But the woman who waited on me was quick, although she told me it would be 20 minutes to upload my new phone, and it's been way more than 20 minutes, and it's not uploaded. So when the show's over, I may have to go back and say, what did I do wrong? But anyway, so I made it home in time to do the show, but then we couldn't reach each other because you don't do it often.
Yeah.
And Finally, I figured out to get on my laptop and messenger call you because I knew you'd be near your laptop.
Yes.
And that's how we are here doing the show.
That's how we, funny little world these days. And look, and thank you guys for showing up. We didn't do any announcements or anything like that, but we had some friends show up. We got a guy in Canada, Cumberland County, and Keith Shield. Oh, Keith Shield's in Canada. Yes.
Yeah.
He's done the same thing with his key fob, he said. So, my key fob's currently dead, so I just have to use my key.
I knew a Canadian named Keith. He was a very fine young man that went to school at LSU. I won't say it's this Keith Shield because this Keith Shield's a grown adult with children and a respectable life. But I did know a young Keith who was from Canada and went to LSU. It's probably not the same guy. And in the early days of Cowboy Mouth, when he went back home to live in Canada, he sent me a care package of Canadian mushrooms, this young man. And the caps were like this big. They were huge. And we were in New York City to play for Thanksgiving, and we had Thanksgiving Day off where we'd booked a restaurant. And so we went out the night before, and the tour manager decided that it was a great time to break out the Canadian caps. And so we were all summoned to the lobby where we were each given like a piece of communion, a giant piece of Canadian cap. And we're anxious to get out because they're blowing up the balloons for the Macy's Day Parade. You know, this is going to be fun. We're going to go and watch them blow up Underdog and Mickey Mouse and whatever. And we're going to be tripping on shrooms. It's going to be great. Well, our sound man at the time was a guy named Chuck Keith from a little town in Nocona, Texas. And Chuck Keith, being from Nocona, Texas, hated New York City, man. He didn't want to go out in New York City ever. Too big, boss. Too big, boss. Too much for me. And we kept calling him, like trying to hint like we got something special. And finally we're like, dude, this is what it is. So he came down and we all took off. But by this time, the shrooms are starting to, have their effect. This is back in 1998. Statute of limitations long gone on shrooms, I'm sure. But the shrooms are starting to kick in. And we're taking a cab ride from the east side where we're staying in this nice hotel over to the west side where they're blowing up the balloons. And Manhattan's kind of hilly. So we're going up, coming down the hill, and we're all like, "Wow! That's the biggest hill ever, man!" And we're, freaking out on the cab ride over. And we get there, and we've waited so long to assemble in the lobby. The balloons are gone. They've been blown up. There's nobody partying. They've been taken to the safe place, wherever that is. And all that's left is a street full of Klieg lights on the Upper West Side. It's beautiful setting. It looks like a movie set, And we're all, tripping. And Chuck, who's this real tough guy from Nocona, Texas, starts going into West Side Story. He does a couple of dance moves, and he goes, boy, crazy, boy. And me being a fan, I go, keep cool, boy. And everybody looks at me and goes, hey, man, leave him alone. He's expressing himself. And I'm like, but that's the next line. I was expressing with him. But they're all tripping. They don't know I'm expressing. They think I'm trying to tell him to chill out.
Right.
He's having fun, man. Let him dance, So I was suddenly the bad guy for singing along, which had never happened. Well, not true. So we continue. By now, the mushrooms are in full effect, and we cannot possibly get into a cab to go back across to the east side. So we're going to walk the miles and miles it takes. And my brother Johnny was our tour manager, and he had a video camera back when those things existed. And he decides he's going to videotape the whole thing to capture the experience, which was utter nonsense of us babbling. And about maybe 5-6 minutes in, somebody says, I'm hungry. I want a piece of pizza. So we all walk into a pizza place, and two things happen. Of course, as anyone knows who's taken mushrooms, the last thing you want is to eat, especially pizza. And the first reaction to looking at a menu is just dumbfoundedness. Like, I wouldn't even know what to pick, and I couldn't eat it if I could pick it, Right. So we're standing there sort of staring blankly at the menu, and you hear Johnny's voice as he's still videotaping say, I have to go to the bathroom. But he doesn't turn the camera off because, and he's camera swinging, and he's walking down the stairs, and you hear Johnny pee, and you see the porcelain. And you see him come back up, and by now he's completely forgotten the camera's there. And so for the next 2 hours, you get us cackling and talking out of our heads, walking down the streets of Manhattan while you just see the street of Manhattan go by as the camera down. And we stop in front of the what used to be FAO Schwartz toy store, big toy store in the center of Manhattan, big giant. It's where the movie Big, where he dances on the piano, and
Right, right.
so it's a big store. And the movie Babe had just come out, and they had a display in the window of Babe the pig and the goose that was flying away. I guess I never saw the movie, but I know there was a goose and a pig, and they had animated it to where the pig was he was running, where his back hump would come up, and the goose would take off just as his back hump was coming up, and we were staring at it, and somebody among us, again, the shroom's talking, said, "Oh man, that's wrong." And I'm like, "What?" "Oh, that's just wrong. This is for little kids, man. They got that goose fucking big. That's wrong." They changed that display, and then all of a sudden we all saw it, and we're all like, "Oh man, that's terrible of FAO Schwartz to do that to kids." Oh my goodness. So we walked back just despondent that FAO Schwartz was trying to, pollute the minds of children. And by this time, it had taken hours to get back across Manhattan. And everybody went to bed except for me and Rob and our dates. We decided it would be fun. The sun was coming up, and we were going to sit in Grand Central Station, get a cup of coffee, and watch the people coming in for Thanksgiving. And it really was fun because the juxtaposition between how wild-eyed we'd looked and how beautifully dressed everybody was coming for Thanksgiving gave us great moments of hilarity. I'm sure they didn't notice as they scurried by on the family. But yeah, it was. So that was A. Keith from Canada who provided that experience. I'm sure it's not the same father, husband, successful businessman who is now watching.
Well, he said one and the same. So, yeah. Did you see, I saw a report last week. Apparently, what is the something psyllin inside of mushrooms? Apparently, they're finding out that it works better than antidepressants, and you can microdose on mushrooms and have a better...
There's long been a school that's really new for the young people that they're doing that, but that's been around for a long time. Like Cary Grant was microdosing on LSD. As were a lot of celebrities back then, under the orders of their psychiatrists. Because the doors of perception, baby. Mm-hmm. I mean, the straights can say what they want, but Ram Dass became a spiritual leader because LSD opened him up to a place where he saw what nirvana could be like. The problem for him was that he came down from LSD. He came down from the drug. And so he went to India and he learned how to meditate. He learned the secrets of yoga. He learned the ancient teachings. He found that high place in himself where he felt the oneness of the universe that he had felt on acid. So there's proof that it exists in the psychiatric community for years. Back in the 60s, they knew. And now, I think as things open up a bit more, as the boogeyman of LSD becomes just a little shmoo on the corner with a nice dispensary stand that looks like an AT&T store, I think that minds will open, especially as the old dinosaurs die off that believed in all the
Not to
the
mention, I think this
propaganda.
next generation's a little more wary of pharmaceuticals and compounds and things that are created. They seem to be a little more
I think
concerned.
they like what grows out of the earth a bit more, yeah, and I think that makes sense. And yeah, I haven't done it. I haven't done any of that kind of stuff in years and years and years and years. But somebody told me about it recently, and it made sense to me. And if somebody said, if you should try macrodosing, I would probably say thanks. I'll see if it improves my mood.
Right. Although you seem to be in a good mood these days, so you've got your natural equilibrium.
I'm mostly in a good mood. I had a really bad week of singing, and the dystonia thing. I have to say, I try to be a good soldier about it. I don't complain to my wife, and I try not to complain to my friends. But it sort of really got me down this week. I don't just miss singing. I miss feeling the joy of singing. I miss looking forward to it instead of dreading it. I miss the actual doing of it because singing was always like prayer to me. I could lose myself in it. I could disappear and become part of everything. So I miss the actual doing.
The
But I
connection.
also miss, the connection, but nobody's really got that now,
Right.
But I missed it. I miss the joy of looking forward to even doing it. It'd be the
Mm-hmm.
most natural thing. So, and some days I can find it. Some days for a whole day, some day for a song. This week it hasn't been, and it's one of those things where it's sort of the more aware of the problem you are, and the harder you try to correct it, the more you are sending the neurons in the brain into fight or flight, and they're all trying to protect you, so they're shutting you down.
Mm-hmm.
They know you're scared. Okay, we got this. And I'm like, no, you don't. You're fucking it up, man.
Well, anybody who rehabs any part of their body, constantly is dealing with that
Well,
thing.
neuroplasticity is a really new sort of field, and it's interesting to even find somebody who can discuss it intelligently. I recently, I mean, just the Lord works in mysterious ways, right? But
Mm-hmm.
my wife goes to church still, and so I always joke with her, tell Jesus hello for me or whatever. So I said, well, say a prayer for my voice, would you? Because I was really had a bad week. Well, we go to see Rob Savoy play in the Maroney yesterday at the Bywater Art Market with Scott Agee's band, You're Making Me Breakfast, which is a hilariously brilliant band that does 80 songs to a reggae beat. Fantastic. And I bump into a Facebook friend, Randy, who is, as it turns out, I mean, I know him from Facebook. I know he loves music. I didn't know he's a neurosurgeon. And he heard the dystonia in my speaking voice. And I was in pretty good shape yesterday, but he heard the strain. And he said, I'm a neurosurgeon. I could probably at least give you some advice on how to work with this. So really in a hopeful mood, I'm going to go see him tomorrow and hopefully find somebody local. He's not from here, he's from Philadelphia, but hopefully find somebody local that can help me through this maze and get me singing again.
Right, right. Oh, by the way, Keith said, brilliant story, nothing to hide here. So you can go ahead and tell whatever stories you want. Apparently, he's got nothing to hide.
Good.
So,
Good.
that's all good. How do you microdose? I wonder. I mean, I guess there's an amount that you have to. I know it's a
Right.
small dose,
You
but
wouldn't eat the whole cap.
right, you just little pieces.
You take a little tiny piece,
Mm-hmm.
and and of course in our day you would then have to put the bag away.
Right.
I remember playing a show with Cowboy Mouth, and we had a sponsor at the time, and the guy was a real button down kind of guy, and it was a Mardi Gras show, and I said, so, hold on to these for me, would you? And he goes, yeah, I mean, can I take one? I said, yeah. He goes, how many should I take? I was like, you don't do them, so 2 at the most,
Right.
And he's a guy who likes to eat, so he just sat there with the bag in his hand watching the show like popcorn, and he ate the entire.
It's like when you eat the edibles, you eat that one edible and you're like, it didn't really work. Let me eat another one. And then the next thing you know, you're like, whoa, I'm just,
You see, the edibles, I have yet to have the medicinal edibles that I got once from a friend that were like 40 grams. Those were like that. But the recreational ones they're for the kids.
yeah.
I did it when I was in California. They were cute.
Right.
I'd
And
have to
then,
eat a bag a day to get something out of the edibles they sell to the kids today.
I remember when the cartridges first came out, and suddenly we thought we were on to something, but they figured it out really quickly. Like we were like, you can smoke on the plane, wherever. You can't smell it. It doesn't matter. Get on the plane, go in the bathroom. So, that changed
Yeah.
pretty quickly. They kind of caught wind of
Yeah.
all of that stuff, and but I do
Well,
remember when those.
911 changed a lot of things, Prior to 911, it was easier to fly around the country with something to smoke. But after that, it was, I hope I find something wherever we're going, or I hope we're going someplace where it's legal, or,
Right.
because they're going to x ray you right down to your penis.
Have you ever noticed that when you go to California, how many dispensaries are near the airport? Like, if you hit the
Never thought.
dude, all you do is you hit the
Well,
search thing.
I went, to California when they announced that it was going to be legal. It was January 6th, like 4 years ago. I immediately booked a West Coast tour. It was legal. The first dispensary was going to open on the 4th, and I was going to be there on the 6th, man. So I arrive on the 6th, and I drop my stuff up at my friend Coleman's house. I'm like, you want to come? He doesn't smoke, but he's like, yeah, I want to see what this looks like. So we drive to MedMen on Santa Monica, and it's early. They just opened. And he goes, wow, only 15 people in line. I thought it was going to be a lot bigger than that. And we hop in line, and the security guard walks up and he goes, line starts across the street. That was the 15 people that made it to the corner. The
Right.
line was 2.5 blocks long, man. But we're there for the experience, and I'm there for what I'm there for. It's legal, and I'm in. So I'm in line, and the line itself was a cultural experience because the Uber and Lyft drivers were working. If you need a ride home, if you're stoned later, you need blah, blah, blah. A guy from the glass shop that sold paraphernalia across the street was working a line going 20% off on bongs, 50% off on pipe, cards, It was this was creating business. This one shop was creating business for the whole block. It was heartwarming as an American, to see how one store opening can really open the doors of all the businesses in the area. So we finally, work our way up, and it's like walking into a Mac store. It's young kids all dressed in black with headphones on, and they're like very polite. And this kind of this is our bubble gum, which is sativa, and will make you blah blah blah. And this is our thing, which is indica, and will make you blah. And it's all these different descriptions. And I don't know from sativa, man. The guys look at the kid and I go, look, man, what is the most expensive thing you have that'll get me higher than the building? And he said, well, then you want this. And I went, great, that'd be fine. That's a great place to start. Let me have some of those edibles because I've never done them. Let me see. So by the time I make my few little purchases, I got a bag like, this big, and it's $300. And I'm like, now I have buyers or more. So I'm like, Jesus Christ, I bought a couple of candies and a little weed and $300. I'm walking out, and there's a couple walking out in front of me that look like they're in their mid-70s, and they got like a Schwegmann's bag full. I mean, like a giant supermarket bag full of stuff. And I just thought, they've been waiting a long time for this place to open, man.
Yes.
They came in, stopped.
Yeah. So it's called top shelf now. When you go up there, you need your top shelf. When you go into
Well, just like, in a bar.
just like in a bar.
Yeah.
I do remember when I went to Vegas and they had just made it legal. They had decided to run the distribution through the liquor companies. That was the deal that was struck in order to make it legal. And they had all kinds of distribution problems at first. I don't know if you remember hearing about that, but they made it legal and they sold out within 2 days of the supply that they had.
I did hear that. No, that's why. I didn't know that's why.
But it was because they decided to, and eventually they got it together. And I think eventually as it becomes legal all across the states, they're probably that's gonna be the giveaway to the liquor distribution to sort of get the lobby through. You know how it works in this country. Somebody's always got to be, there's always got to be somebody that's getting paid.
First of all, the alcohol people can relax because the people that drink are not going to stop drinking just because they're smoking weed.
Right. In fact,
There's some people who don't drink who would prefer to smoke weed because of whatever. The same reason that some people won't smoke weed. I have friends that won't smoke weed because they say it makes them paranoid.
right.
I say you just haven't smoked. But some people, can't drink because it's not good, or some people don't want to drink, they don't like the taste of it. So, but people are still, it's America. People are going to drink.
Right.
We're not going to be a dry country.
No,
Not
you're
in
right.
my
They can
life.
relax. It's not like people are going to stop drinking. You're right. It's two different types of people. The people like to smoke weed generally don't drink as much.
And really, like the guys that are worried, take a trip to Amsterdam. It's really thought out. The bars are right next to the coffee shops. And on a nice day, you sit out at a table and you order a drink from the bar and you have your coffee. And as long nobody says anything, you're right there. It's not that big a deal. It's a flower. God put it here for me and for you.
That's right. That's right. Let's see if we got anybody. Nope, nobody cares. So I was just seeing if anybody had a comment about any of that drug
It
talk.
made me think of the Progressive commercial where he says, you woke up early. Nobody cares.
Right. Let's talk about stuff people care about. By the way, I heard that you started watching Disney Plus over the weekend. Is that true?
Chicago Lou has set me up with a Disney Plus on his account. I am Woody the Cowboy.
Nice.
And I haven't started yet, but I plan on starting this week. I'm going to first undertake the reboot of The Falcon and the Snowman that you guys have been talking about so much.
Right.
Don't spoil it. I'm still hoping for the cameo from Sean Penn. And then after I get through that, I'll check out this WandaVision thing that Luis likes so much. And then I'll variously, but I have to say, like, I feel like I'm you guys' like barometer for real comic stuff. Because I watched this Superman movie. I never saw the Man of Steel, this with Henry Cavill.
Right.
I saw the Batman versus Superman one, and I thought this is the worst fucking Superman Batman movie I ever saw. Then I saw the Man of Steel the other day, and I realized, oh no, this is worse than Batman versus Superman. Let's just rewrite his history. Let's not have him work at the Daily Planet. Let's have Lois Lane find the Fortress of Solitude at the exact same moment Superman does. Let's have Ma Kent get attacked by Zod, the general from Krypton. What the hell is going on?
Not to mention,
Superman is anonymous. One day he's on Krypton, and the next day he's on a burning oil rig, deciding whether or not to save lives because he doesn't know yet. What happened to Superboy? Superboy was saving lives?
right. You know, it's not surprising is what's
It's
his
like
name?
someone had never read a Superman comic strip in his life and decided to write this movie.
Well,
And Henry Cavill is the Hayden Christensen of the Superman series. He is the brooding. What is Superman doing brooding?
so think about this
He's a
though.
god.
The guy who wrote it is a big Ayn Rand fan, which makes all the sense in the world when you think about when you think about some of the things Superman's like, you don't owe this world anything. You know, why save somebody? That bit when he's a teenager and he goes, "You'd have done better if you wouldn't have saved that kid." Remember, he goes, "What am I supposed to do? Let the kids drown?" And
Everybody's an Ayn Rand fan when they're like, when you're 20 years old, it's a great time to be an Ayn Rand fan. You get drunk and you shut off the government and the whole thing. And then you grow out of Ayn Rand and you write better films than this. I was so mad at Henry Cavill. And then it dawned on me because one of my Facebook fans posted, but at least he's a hottie. And at first I was like, he's the worst Superman ever. And I thought, I just shit on somebody's, hottie comment. So I thought, okay, it's not Henry's fault. He's not bad. He's just drawn that way. Like
Right.
Jessica's, But whoever wrote it doesn't understand the Superman
No.
theories.
No.
Conception.
It was completely
directed
not
it-
Superman. You know,
Never saw a previous Superman movie in their life. Never picked up a Superman. The writer and director are like people who thought they were smarter than 50
it's Zack
years
Snyder.
of Superman.
It's Zack Snyder. You know, and Zack Snyder makes pretty pictures, but like you can see the Ayn Rand all over it, though, right? I mean, it's just like, Ayn Rand's philosophy is the strong don't do any favors to the weak by helping them. It's all about individualism and teach a man to fish rather than give him fish, and the whole that whole thing of like, and actually she goes so far as to believe that you're hurting people by helping them. Any help that you give people is bad for them. What's that?
Yeah, I think that you keep the economy going by buying the fish from the man.
There you
Because
go.
I don't want that man playing guitar and telling stories. I want him fishing.
That's right.
And when he wants to hear somebody play guitar, I'd like him to come see me. I'd like him to go, Paul always buys his fish from me. Paul buys his books here. Paul buys his food here. I feel like hearing some music. I'm going to go see Paul, not, I think I'll just sit and make some myself.
Right.
What if everybody just painted their own music?
Right.
All the musicians, what if everybody just painted their own pictures? They wouldn't all be brilliant, but they'd love them. They made them. And then all the artists would be out of work. So I think that I try to keep the economy going by hiring the lawn guy or hiring the person to come clean the house or whatever it is that you have to do, whatever it is in your world you can do to help spin the world a little bit more and not take somebody's job away from them so that they don't take your job away from you.
I saw this funny article in Rolling Stone where they were talking about, the democratization. Since we have streaming platforms now, you have a lot more people. Like, you don't have a record company between you and an audience, right? So you can always,
Right.
The idea being that it's democratized it, right? So you can put your music out, and if your music is good, people can hear it. You don't have to go through some label and some guy to say, yeah, you're no good, whatever. Long story short of it, though, it doesn't change people's listening habits. You still have, they were saying, 10% of the top 1% of the music artists get about 90% of the streams, and then the other 99%, get, whatever's left, right? They were saying like the bottom 90% of popularity is like 0.6 of the streams is what they get. But
I think you and I were talking about this last week, though, but that's sort of like the residual effect of the pop culture we grew up in.
But it's part of that
It's the
meritocracy
last-
thing. Like Rolling Stone was arguing that, in a fair, balanced way, that people would get, the bottom 10% would get 10% of the streams, but that's just not the way things work, because people don't, if it's not good or people don't like it, let's don't say not good, because there's
It's
lots
not
of
about
different
that.
types of music.
It's more about what people know. It's more about what people know. And so what the do-it-yourself atmosphere of today has done for artists, young artists, is you can get it out there, and if it's really good, it is going to get a bunch of hits, and it is going to
yes.
And then you can do like Shamar does. You can make the money in whichever way you choose to make the money, instead of having a record label and a booking agent tell you how you're going to make the money. So I still sort of believe that it's going to be good in the long run for opening up new creative avenues. There will be less mega rock stars.
Right.
There will be less Bruce Springsteens and Tom Petty's and all that, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Do we really need heroes in order to live heroic lives?
Right.
We everybody knows how you're supposed to be. Just go ahead and be it. Everybody knows. Oh,
I'm still here. Somebody's trying to call me.
Mike
So my
disappeared.
phone. I'm still here. People keep trying to call me. Sorry.
You're a popular guy. You notice that no one's tried to call me.
Well, your phone's not working.
No, I'm going to tell you something. You're in your 50s now. In your 40s, especially in the rock world, you're still like looked at as you have potential, and girls still go, "Hey, he's pretty hot. He's like a gray fox." You get in your 50s, and suddenly you notice like nobody's looking anymore.
Mm-mm.
Like the booking agents and record companies aren't looking at you as you have potential. Your potential's behind you. The chicks are thinking you're just old.
Right. Right.
Then you get into your 60s, and nobody wants to work with you. They're just interested in what you have to say. And you're completely benevolent figure to women, because you're harmless. You're in your,
right.
You
better be
I couldn't harm a
harmless.
fly.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I'm married for one, but I'm just 60s in general.
Right.
Before I was married, I was at a string jam, about 3 or 4 years ago. I was sitting playing guitars, and this young girl played, and she was just wonderful, lovely, beautiful. And I said, "That was fantastic." And she was like, "Oh, wow, thank you so much, coming from you." I said, "Oh, baby, if I was 20 years younger, you'd still be too young for me. If I was 30 years younger, maybe."
Right.
If I was 20 years younger, I'd be 40. You'd still be way too young for me. But
well, the other thing that I noticed, just with even being friends with people that are younger, is I find myself hilarious. I'll say things that I pop culturally are funny to me. Yeah, they find me a lot less hilarious. They don't even know what the hell I'm talking about half the time. They can't make the connections.
Pop culture references go right over their heads.
Yes.
It's gone.
And I even try to stay new, but.
You see, I've taken to where I don't even bother telling them it's from a pop culture reference. I just use a really cool line, and they'll be like, "Yeah." I'm not going to tell them I got it from.
Oh, I don't tell them either. I don't tell them either. But the problem is like some connections you can't make.
Wise.
Some connections you can't make unless.
Right.
Yeah. But this country is really bad about not using the wisdom of people that are older. They really.
Well, like for me, when my second ex ghosted on me and it was time to like date again, that was just an abysmal experience, because I'm old.
Right.
And then there's a whole like getting to know people and asking the questions, and then I ran into my 19-year-old girlfriend, girlfriend when I was 19, and we were on our way to have a glass of wine, and the radio was on, and What's the Buzz from Jesus Christ Superstar came on, and without even looking at each other, we both just started singing, and I was like, this is what I need. I need a woman I can sing Jesus Christ Superstar with.
Right.
I need somebody who's going to understand those references so that I don't have to explain why Jesus Christ Superstar is cool.
Right. Me and my wife laugh at the same things. We have the same thoughts about things that are funny. Like we'll say something, and we're already on the same page. You know what I mean? It's just there's those things that.
And who wants to have to find the page?
Right. It's exhausting.
I don't want to have to find the page.
Because then then you're like. You're like trying to explain it, and you're like, it's not even really worth explaining. You didn't get it. It's fine.
Oh,
just move on.
I'm already practicing mindfulness, and that's exhausting enough. I don't have to explain,
right.
pages.
Me too. I'm trying to. Yeah, Mark really says, I find myself hilarious.
Oh yeah, yeah. I crack myself up on a regular basis.
Right. Right. Yes, I'm great, you know. who's,
Oh
who's,
yeah,
who's not getting it? So today I get to go film a garden up here, uptown, which I'm really excited
film a
about.
garden.
Yeah, we're doing,
What's that mean?
it's for something that's happening next week, but there's a guy who's like a master gardener. And so we got to film an interview with him, and we get to film some of his garden, and I'm kind of excited about it, actually. You know, seeing a nice garden.
Yeah, my stepson Adam would love to be there. He loves gardening. He wishes he could do that rather than what he does for a living.
Apparently, this guy's a master gardener, so I guess once it airs,
Yeah,
I'll send a copy over to you once it airs, and then maybe you can
yeah. So I can
forward it
send it
on.
to him. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But we got a little bit of a late start, you guys, today. I had to go to the doctor today, so I
Was
went.
this? Yeah. What happened? Are you okay?
Yeah, we've been trying to find a way to sort of speed up my process, and it's going since 2012. So anyway,
Yeah.
the doctor that we just went and saw today is like a vascular guy who's got some good ideas. I liked him. We talked a bit about some plans, and we're gonna see if we can't speed this thing up a little bit finally.
Good luck, buddy.
He was telling me. I know we don't usually like to talk about these things, but 2012 is when I had my surgery, and the reason that I didn't get it until 2012 was because I was a year of Obamacare, and I couldn't get one because of pre-existing conditions before
Oh
that.
wow.
And so my heart got really misshapen, and so I still have some issues that are caused mainly because nobody would do the surgery on me before that because I didn't have enough money
Yeah.
to do that surgery.
Healthcare in
So
America. It's
healthcare in
really
America. It's a wonderful, awesome thing. But he had mentioned
yeah.
he had moved to Arizona for a minute, and he had just mentioned there was a lady that came into his office who was a smoker, and she had a bunch of vascular issues, but she was begging him to fix her before Obamacare came out because they were euthanizing old people. And
Oh my God.
yeah, I know. I'm just like, I just, you know,
Well, somebody said the other day about something about the governor of Texas totally had screwed up something about COVID, some scientific information. And I wrote back, you mean to tell me the guy who called out the Texas National Guard because Obama was going to invade Texas is an idiot? What a shock.
right. Remember Ann Richards? I mean, she was
Yeah.
tough, but
She was awesome.
yes,
But you can't underestimate, like, you really need to be amused at the depth of some people's stupidity
I know.
because it's not their fault.
It's not
I
their
mean,
fault. We don't educate
sometimes you just
people
go,
well enough
oh,
here.
you're sort of that. See, I'm not an educator.
Hmm.
I am not an educator.
Right.
I am a meditator. I am a singer and a teller of stories. I am not an educator. John Rankin is a great educator.
Right.
I think that that's a calling in life. And my thing is, I'm not trying to hurt somebody, but I figure lessons are learned at their own pace. We're all on a path. We're all going to land up in the same place. If I happen to see somebody who's walking straight into a wall at 100 miles an hour, I think, damn, that's going to hurt. I don't tell him to stop. He's probably having too much fun to listen to me anyway.
Oh, JC says he was 20 and married, and then had to learn how to date at 40. He said he swiped so much he developed tendernitus. See, I've never even see. I found out about this from a friend of mine named Steve Baracco because I didn't really even wasn't aware for a long time that there was such a thing. And of course now
Tenderitis?
tendernitis. With the tender.
Tender.
You're right,
I didn't get
from the
that.
swiping.
I thought it was
and-
tenderitis.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm
yeah.
old again, and I'm
Yeah,
back
see?
to tender.
Right.
Tenderness. What's wrong with tenderness?
Right. That's what's wrong with it.
Ah,
You know
tender.
what?
That's a
I've never
whole.
made that connection. Tender and tender. Wow. Right. I never made that connection.
Yeah, it's two
Interesting.
different things, though,
Of course.
no doubt.
Probably very different things, but it is interesting.
Yeah, I don't know much about Tinder, but I know that it's probably not about tenderness always.
Probably not. At least not emotionally
Just
swiped.
guessing.
Right. It is odd to me to treat that sort of thing like an Amazon app. Nah. Oh yeah. Nah.
Well, yeah, I know. Like,
it's just
what
funny
does
to
that
me.
mean? I mean, only good-looking people get dated, or what? I mean, I have to hire an actor that's really better looking than me to put on my Tinder profile so I can meet somebody and have them go, "Oh, you don't look anything like your picture."
Right, right. Yeah, I just think that to me it's just
I mean,
one of
I'm
the
62. I couldn't be putting this picture on. I have to get some like nice, 38-year-old good-looking actor. Paul
right.
Sanchez, songwriter, singer. Be getting dates left and right. They just show up and go, "Well, where's your son?"
Or I wonder if you're rich if you just show a picture of your car. Like you don't even show a picture of yourself, you just put your car up there or something like that. Your house or something like
Well,
that.
it takes all kinds, right? I mean,
Right.
there's probably some woman or man or they that would love to ride around in a nice car and do whatever it takes to get there. I don't know. I don't judge.
We know you're joking about the tendonitis. He was like, it's just a joke. Yeah, no, we get it. We were just trying to figure out, Paul didn't
Oh, I
actually
just
hear it
didn't. I,
'cause-
I literally thought I was like tendernitis. What a great thing to suffer from. I thought that was the coolest thing ever. I want to use it in a song. Like oh, that she said I was too tender. Now I got tenderness. That'd be a great country song.
Right, right. No,
But
actually, I still think it's a great song idea. You just might have to throw in a
we now
verse
have to
about,
get on this, Mikey.
yeah, yeah. Hey, maybe
Yeah,
finally some inspiration, right? Something that you've been
there
looking
you
for something to
go.
write about. And Allison
Yeah,
just
she's a
gave a
voice.
scream that's probably about 4 sentences long, like four whatever spaces long about. I'm assuming about the lady in Arizona. That it's difficult to deal with that sort of stuff. My mom right now, we're trying to talk her into getting the vaccine, and it's like
Uh,
when we're trying to use the we'll get together again kind of thing because we haven't seen her since, and it's for her safety as much as ours. And
oh, yeah, these people, nothing against your mother, but it's like people don't get it. It's like, well, enough people have been vaccinated. I'm not going to get it. Well, thank you very much,
right,
because we cleaned the whole swimming pool, and you just told me you're going to keep pissing in the pool.
right,
So I'm going to stay over here in the clean under the pool. So
right,
your pee's coming my way no matter what I do. You
right,
know.
right. It is fun. It is nice though that so many of my friends and people that I know have gotten the vaccine, and um,
Well, I
it,
meant for one thing, you can like hug people again, and you can
right.
go out and see music and not be terrified that you're going to die when you get home. That's awful cool.
Yeah, my wife went off this weekend and she hung out with people and they didn't wear masks. They ate and they listened to
No,
Jazz Fest and they were all
8.
vaccinated.
Yeah,
You know,
great. Yeah,
she
everybody was vaccinated. Yeah, of
she
course.
had a
Yeah,
great time, and it's like
yeah.
she came back refreshed. Like, wow, human contact again. I haven't had human
I came back
contact.
exhausted from human contact.
That's right, but you're a little different.
I was exhausted. I had 2 days of it because my wife's younger son. It was his birthday Saturday, so he and his girlfriend came by. Lovely couple. But then we had to go straight over to my brother Johnny's house because they were festing in place. And my sister-in-law Abby she confessed as hard as the best of them. So by the time I got home, I was just wiped. And the next day we had Scott Agee's band Jamaica Me Breakfast at the Bywater Art Market. And it was 4 hours of visiting with friends. It was great. It was great, and drinking in the sun. I was exhausted.
That's just
Socializing is for the young.
I know. Well, I mean, I was thinking about you, man. You would, Mardi Gras. You'd be socializing from 5 a.m. to
Oh
midnight, no
yeah, I was
problem.
missing Mardi Gras. I was thinking of Mardi Gras. I was King Forget About It '05.
Yeah, yeah, right. So you were, now you're like, oh my God, how many hours? Two.
Oh my God. Now, literally, yeah. It's like, first of all, no, we're not getting up at fucking dawn to have a drink. Sorry. And for that matter, I'm not having a drink at 8 either. Because if I have a drink at 8, I'm going to just sleep by noon. Okay? You have a 10 to 1 o'clock window to enjoy Mardi Gras. At which point, I will have had enough. I'll be tired. I'll be hungry. You know,
Trying to beat the traffic home. Like, let me get out of here.
gotta beat the traffic home. The parades are on fucking TV, man. I want to watch Eric Paulson. Have some fried chicken, have a good view of Zulu and Rex right there on TV.
Yeah, yeah, kind of feeling. I'm not really minding the festin in place. It's kind of nice. You're sitting on your own porch.
I have to say, there's a couple of things I hope stick around post-pandemic. House floats, porch concerts, and not so much festive in place because you want people to go to Jazz Fest.
Right.
But, like maybe a tune-up to Jazz Fest or something, like a Jazz Fest memorial show once a year, maybe halfway through the year. Okay, we're
Right.
halfway through the year. Let's take a look at Jazz Fest from the past. and do that one weekend. I hope OZ does something like that because it has been, you know.
Well, I would
I
think it's
listened
been
to
so successful for them. I would assume that, I mean, it's
I listened to
obviously
an Ella Fitzgerald set from 1976. You know,
right,
it was
right,
unbelievable.
right. The stuff that they have in their archives, it's and I don't know they pull it out for different
Oh
shows and things, but geez, Louise, guys, I mean, you got something here that could
yeah,
make you some money. I agree with you. Like, I mean, obviously not this year, but yeah, October, right? You do as you're coming into fall, you just do the, Festin in
or
place,
if they cancel the October Jazz Fest,
right,
maybe do
right.
it then.
Just start doing
Anyway,
things.
yeah, enjoy. I've enjoyed my brother's house. He had a Jazz Fest sign painted by the Jazz Fest artist. They paid money.
Mm,
It's the San family festin in place, and
nice.
their neighbors came, and it was very festive. It was very cool. They ordered Jazz Fest food,
Right,
and
right.
great fun. We had crawfish Monica and crawfish strudel, and
I had to work, but my wife
great.
brought me home some crawfish Monica, and it was good. Somebody made it, and it was like, "This is
Yeah,
great." And what
yeah.
else? I like the Cubans. Like I live right around the corner from Conseco's. I think I've mentioned this before. The
Well, I
Cubans.
went. My young friend Hunter Burgamy called me. I don't know if you know Hunter, but I've known him since he was 15. He's a guitar player. I guess he's probably 25 by now. I mean, he's grown up on me. I met him at Shamar's birthday party, Tipitina's. Shamar's brother had a rock band that was going to open up the show, and they were all 15 and 14, 13 years old. And so I walked backstage at Tips, and this rock band sitting there huddled together, and these young kids. And Shamar goes, "Hey, that's Uncle Paul. Say hi to Uncle Paul." And they all turn around nervous and they go, "Hi, Uncle Paul," except for this kid, Hunter, who turns around 15 years old, already got full sideburns, a paisley shirt, and a flat Mexican brim hat like he's in the Allman Brothers. He just turns around and goes, "Hey, man." I was like, "Oh, yeah, that kid and I are going to work together." And I started having him come out and sitting in the shows. He went to Berkeley. He's a phenomenal player. And he wanted to have lunch. And we went to not Canseco's, went to uh, Francesca's, Scott Craig's place out in Lakeview and had
Uh-huh.
killer Cubano. Oh,
Oh yeah,
man.
yeah. You
I
got
do
a
like
great one
the
too.
Cubano.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I like the Cubano. What can I say?
What's funny is the first one I had was Miami, which you'd think would be the best, right? But I don't know, something that they were doing in the pork up there just kind of, wasn't,
I have to say the best Cubano I ever had and the best Cuban coffee I ever had was this shop in Chicago. I think it's called 90 Miles South or 90 Miles East. Nunu would know. Nunu, my friend, the photographer Nunu in Chicago, would always hook me up with, like a friend of his is out of town. You got a free place to stay when you're playing a gig or something.
nice.
And one friend of his, Roy, is married to a Brazilian woman. So he spends a lot of time in Brazil and very, very generous man. He would just leave me the key to his place, to which I would fuck something up. I'd break something or I'd leave my guitar there. Or I'd convinced I left my guitar there, and where did it go? Somebody stole it. It's always some drama I gave the poor man, but he still let me stay there every time. And right near his house was this place, I think 90 miles east, a little tiny Cuban place, but good Lord. Like if I could have a cup of that coffee right now, I'd be so happy.
I bet. Have you ever been to Billy Goat Cafe there?
Yeah, of course. If you go to
Right.
Chicago, you have to go.
And
And it's just like it was in Saturday Night
it
Live.
is flipping just
I tried to order they're doing double cheeseburger. I go, "I'd like a single. You want a double? All right, take a double." I'm not going to argue.
dude,
Fine.
it is so like that. We went in there with some friends from California, and this guy starts asking for, certain, it's California guys, so they're like, "Can you do
Right.
it like with the thing?" And I don't want this on it. And she's like, "Sweetheart, we don't even have milk, so you're gonna have to just deal with what we got." And she just tells him just flat out, "This is what it is. You're gonna eat it, or you're not gonna eat it. But this is
Well,
what
you're
we
not
make.
going to eat it.
Or you're not gonna eat
I like
it. We
to-
don't care."
And by the way, there's a line behind you, so keep it moving,
Right, so
motherfucker.
let's keep it moving. And the weird thing is, like, it's on that little corner underneath everything, right? You're like, you got to go downstairs to get to it. You got to go down underneath
Yeah,
the
yeah. Finding it wasn't easy,
right.
but it was worth the trip. It's one of
Yeah,
those sort of Chicago things you have to do. We were lucky in the years that the Mouth played there, and all the years I've played there. There's a guy named Danny Beck who owns Tunes on the north side,
uh,
and Pearl a little bit further away from there. And both Tunes is like a bar that serves killer food, including Louisiana food, because he was a chef at House of Blues down here for 10 years.
wow.
And then the Pearl is more high-endy, like Southern cooking, great, named after his grandmother. So whenever we'd go there, it would be like, Danny would just say, "Come buy tunes, I'll feed you. Free food and beer, musicians."
Luis just chimed in and said 90 Miles Cuban Cafe. Apparently, that's the place
Oh,
y'all went to.
it's so great. Yeah, that's the place. That's the
Nice.
place. I love it. In fact, talking about musicians with food, the first time that Cowboy Mouth ever went to tour in France was like '93. So we'd only been together for a year. And we were really, we were only big in like Texas and northern Louisiana. We went Calton Station, New
Right.
Orleans.
Right.
And so we were struggling money wise, and so you ate what you could. So we got flown to France and put on a bus in Paris and taken to Rennes, France for the first gig. And we're backstage and they bring in cheese and pate and bread and fruit. And we're like, he's eating everything, you stuff our faces. And we do sound check and they go, and now we take you to the finest restaurant in town. We're like, we can't eat. We just ate all that food. Oh, no, that was for show. That was snacks, appetizer, how you say. And we're like, oh, wow. So not tonight, but that was the habit. They would like give you wine and food more than you could possibly eat. And then they would take you out to eat. I mean, in
A
in
nine-course
France,
meal. Like, it was crazy.
Yeah.
France was ridiculous. And like France,
Yeah.
like dinner
You froze.
reservations. I didn't realize this, but
You
they'll
froze,
say,
Mikey. Can you hear me?
yeah, I froze. Oh, yeah, I
You got
did.
so excited, you froze.
Look at that. That's interesting.
Wonder
But
if you're
anyway,
still
you can hear
talking.
me, right? Can you hear me?
Well, here you are, stuck with me.
Can you hear me? I guess you can. That's interesting.
Oh, and I just finished telling a story, so I got nothing to say other than, what the hell time is it? We've probably been doing this long enough, and should say, on Wednesday, I have our guest is going to be Ivan Bodley. Ivan is a fantastic bass player who is played in the pit orchestra on Broadway for 20 years. He has toured as a bass player for the finest R&B acts. When they call professional musicians, they're going to use that quality musician. Ivan has played with Sam and Dave, and he's played with. The list is. We'll let him tell you on Wednesday when he visits. Obviously, his life was overturned by the pandemic, and he has written a book called "Are You Famous Yet? Am I Famous Yet?" And it's on Amazon. It's got good reviews. And we're going to talk about his experiences playing the pit on Broadway, his experiences touring with the legends of rock and roll. And he got his start as a DJ at WTUL here in New Orleans, playing the punk rock show. I got my brother's band, the Not Goods, on his show because Ivan was young. He was a big fan of whatever music I was doing. He liked my stuff. I forget what band it was, or maybe I was solo at the time. But I go to him. The Not Goods were terrible. There's a movie called "This Is Absolutely Not Good." You can check it out on YouTube, and it lives up to its name. They're terrible. But my brother was clever. He made a mockumentary and interviewed famous people talking about their favorite band, but changing the name to the Not Goods. And occasionally people would slip up and call them the No Goods because they didn't exist. Anyway, Ivan was the first DJ to interview us. And I walked into the WTUL radio station and I said, "So Ivan, how long do they get?" And he went, "A couple songs." And I opened up a briefcase full of Schaefer beer. And I said, "How long do they get now?" And he said, "I'll give them a half hour." And as he put it later, they proceeded to drink all of the beer and get drunk on his show. And it was one of the greater interviews I think he'd ever conducted at WTUL. But he is now a pit orchestra bass player and tours with the legends of rock. And we will be talking to him on Wednesday. I don't know if you missed that, Mikey.
No, I've been listening the whole time. I didn't go anywhere. My camera stopped working for some reason. So, what you gonna do?
Yes, I figured it was a good time to mention Wednesday's cat. I don't know if you know Ivan Bodley. He did, come out to some shows in the early days.
Yeah, the
but
name sounds familiar.
amazing guy. He's like 6.5 feet tall, shaved side of his head, long hair, earrings everywhere, tattoos, and plays in the biggest shows on Broadway and with some of the biggest names in the history of rock and roll. So he's going to be fun to talk to because he's, so far nobody's owned up to as crazy, ridiculous story as playing behind strippers and a naked fat guy named Turd. But I'm convinced it's out there, Mikey.
Well, one of the
I'm
things I thought
convinced-
was really funny about, and we kind of glossed over it, and we were having trouble hearing Mark, so I didn't want to interrupt too much, but the
Right.
idea that he flew you guys out to wherever it was, how decadent, being a rock star at that point. It's like, let me just fly you
Yeah.
guys out just so you can come hang out. Our fans can see
They
you.
just wanted to make the show. They didn't want to miss the show, and so they probably spent $7,000-8,000
Right.
to rent us a jet, and we're in bumfuck nowhere, and we go and we walk onto an airfield, and we get handed cocktails, and we're like, oh my God,
Right.
And of course, Almost Famous had just come out, so all of us start singing Tiny Dancer.
Nice. By the way, what a great movie. I love Cameron Crowe. Come on.
Oh, we used to call that movie Home Movies.
Oh, home movies. Nice. Now I hear that there's a. Do you know about that? There's a bootleg cut of it.
Not a bootleg cut. There's a director's cut.
Okay,
right?
so there's a director's
Are you
cut.
talking about?
Yeah, I
It
heard
has
it
like
was a
an
bootleg.
extra. Well, I've seen a director's cut that has an extra like half hour.
Gotcha.
And it's fun. If you're a fan of the movie, like I can see why the stuff got cut because it wasn't essential to the film.
Right.
But Peter Frampton was with Humble Pie. He was their road manager. And so you see him briefly in Almost Famous, but there's an extended scene with him in the extended cut. So there was some fun stuff. The party scene where he jumps off the roof, that was extended.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I mean, if you like the movie, you'll like it.
Yeah, I did. So I got to look for that now. Now I'm like, all right. Let's see. Is that Mike's Star Trek shirt? No, it's not a Star Trek shirt. It's just a blue shirt. Remember, Lou, I don't wear. I made a decision about 20 years ago. I try not to wear any kind of advertisement. Like, I feel like I'm not a billboard. So even if it's for a band that I like or a product that I like, I try not to wear it.
If somebody gives me a work shirt, I'll wear it. I'm a whore for a work shirt. I have my Too Stupid to Stop Radiator shirt. I have my Joliet Brewery Guild shirt because it says Paul and it's a work shirt. So that's like big score.
Yeah.
I did give up to a great place it's called Sweet Nola in Virginia. And they have awesome New Orleans food and they have people play. And the chef there, I had a chef shirt on from Chikiwawa. It was one of my favorite shirts. It was a good work shirt. And she said, I collect chef shirts. I'll give you one of our shirts.
But that's different. That's kind of, like you said, that's kind of cool. And JC, yeah, Cuban food in South Beach does seem to be a little less than exciting, as I was pointing out.
Well, South Beach is less exciting than it was 20 years ago. It's like most of America, everybody got a good look at what was cool and then infested it with people who are uncool. And then the coolness all disappeared. Like 30 years ago, Venice Beach was awesome.
What was the movie they made off of La Cage aux Folles? They probably
Birdcage,
right? It's South Beach.
Great
Yes,
movie.
yeah, great movie. Yeah, one of Robin Williams' better ones. Plus Nathan Lane. Oh my God, is he so funny?
Cowboy Mouth played South Beach a couple of times. It was oil
Not
and
really
water.
yeah. Was it your scene? I mean,
No.
I didn't. Pensacola's probably was more Cowboy Mouth's.
Yeah,
Florida thing.
servicemen like Fred more than the models and
Right.
bodybuilders.
Well, now you mention it in South Beach. You guys bands, pfft, whatever. We get.
They really don't care about bands. No, I mean the last band last place down in Miami that was still doing bands was Stevens Talkhouse, and even that went away. By the mid '90s, and it was all rave and disco, house music, whatever the fuck they call it. I don't know. It's a different name every generation, but it sounds like the same music to me.
Right.
If I turn on WTUL today, it just sounds like college rock.
I know.
It just sounds like the exact same rock I listened to when I was in college. It sounded like the college rock they were playing when I was in Cowboy Mouth. And I love that.
Mm-hmm.
I love that it's just kids thinking they're doing it for the first time.
Right.
Thinking nobody's ever played cool, simple rock like this before.
Right.
I love it.
Yeah. Me too.
Same thing with, disco is rave is whatever. It's dance music. I don't care.
And I've been all about the bringing more women into rock bands and things like that. I was one of the ones who suggested Mary Lasang when you guys hired Mary Lasang in Cowboy Mouth. I was the one that was telling Fred, dude, she's a great bass player, and your crowd is mostly women. Huh?
It was not an easy sell for Fred
I know.
to do that. I saw her play. I don't know. Maybe it was you told me to go check her out, but somebody told me to go check her out.
Because I was recording her band Dingo, whatever, Dingo Ate the Baby or whatever.
It was probably you.
Yeah.
It was probably you who said you got to go check her out. So I went to Carlton Station and I walked in and it was packed, which, okay, it's great. But course, we thought we were hot stuff, so Pat Count Station wasn't that impressive. But then I looked at her, and some people just have that thing where the light shines on them and they just look like a rock star. Mm-hmm. And the rest of the band was cool as hell. I couldn't take my eyes off of the bass player. I thought, she's just fucking cool. And then I thought, well, I have to go to the back of the room because maybe I'm just being affected by how cool she looks. I got to make sure she's really solid. And so I went to the back of the room and I put my back to the stage and just felt and listened to the bass. And I was just like, God damn.
Right. She's solid as hell. Right.
He plays as cool as she looks, man.
Uh-huh.
And so, yeah.
Fred, but I had to convince Fred. I was mainly going to the audience.
Won't rock. He said we won't rock. The audience won't accept her.
And I was the one who kept telling him, no, that your audience is mostly women. Trust me, they're going to accept her.
Plus, as long as you rock, and she rocked. She rocked.
Yes, as long as you're a good player. I mean, that was really, but I also kept telling him I thought it would be cool, that, you guys, I think it's going to be cool.
I certainly thought it gave us a diversity that we needed.
Yes.
We weren't just another 4-guy group.
Right. And I mean, this was what, the early 2000s. So it was about the right time to start getting a little bit more diverse with things,
Yeah.
I mean, the hardest part, at that point, you guys didn't have to do the van, because I'm sure if it was the van and you bring in a girl in, it's a little bit more.
Well, if it was the van, I wouldn't have been there anymore. Right. No way I'd have gone back to the van. I was staying as long as there was a tour bus, and then when there wasn't going to be comfort, because, it was really fun in the early days. We really were a band that banded together, and we played each other's songs, and we tried to play the best songs, and we tried to put on the best show, and we tried to give each other equal time. And as it became a business, and it was less fun. It was not about the best song. It was about who got the most songs. It was about who got the most stage time. And the shows weren't.
In all honesty, I think your management sort of pushed those sorts of things as if they were important. I mean, it became a thing where
I think that most managers do. Mm-hmm. I don't know that it was the management, like it was just that manager. I think it's.
But they missed the point. It's so funny. It's like you're missing the point. It's
easier to handle one person's ego than it is to handle 4 persons' ego. So they try and divide and conquer.
Right. Which misses the whole point of the magic of the band and what.
Yes, it's chemistry, which we talked about last.
Yeah. So. Yeah. I got Mark has a nice little quote here. He said, I have smoked fake pot with the real Peter Frampton and real pot with a guy who looked like Peter Frampton. The second one was way more fun. So.
Oh, yeah, because who cares if he's not the real Peter Frampton once you smoke the good one?
He says that's from Mitch Hedberg. So.
Nice.
Yes. Anyway, I've got some stuff to do today. I'm sure you do too.
Yeah, I've got plenty to do. Please.
But we wanted to make sure that we, got out to you guys today. Thank you guys for showing up, even though we showed up late. We appreciate you guys. By the way, I was noticing we had a lot of people show up for the cosplay thing. If you guys enjoyed the cosplay thing, let Paul know on his Facebook.
I think Luis has his own crowd, man.
Yeah,
he's going to be leaving. I can see we'll be doing segments on his show.
Yeah,
I'm taking it over.
I'm down. He could have us whenever he's ready, right? It's funny. It's like we're unleashing the beast because he doesn't even know he has this talent, right?
I know. It's gonna be ugly when he realizes the power.
Right. He's gonna be like, "What do I need those guys for? Those old men. I'm a young guy. I'm
holding me back. I'm a young buck."
That's right. I need to get out there and
all right,
do my
Wednesday. It's Ivan Bodley, and I'm famous yet.
Yes, awesome. Sounds wonderful. You get some Disney Plus work going and all that stuff, and
I'll be ready for Louise on Friday. You can bet your bottom dollar.
That's right. I hope you get your phone taken care of, and thank you guys for coming and hanging out with us again today. And we will see you guys Wednesday with Ivan Botley. Take care, guys.
Cookie jar. It was shaped like a cat. It was a present from my brother. I read a lot of books, but I couldn't see between the lines. I'll have another cup of coffee if you don't mind. Well, her hair is as black as an alleyway, and it used to be red, and it used to be blonde. Truth is, her hair changes color all the time. I'll have another cup of coffee if you don't mind. I'll have another cup of coffee if you don't mind. Well, I'm staring at her shoulder, but it's not what I see when I hear two fellas fighting in the booth across from me. So I wipe away the ashes from an empty counter seat, and I wished I wasn't homesick, I wish I was asleep. Well, I hold her like a blanket up against my chin, and I need her like I need another pack of chew.